Okay, that brings us now to our more of our classic collection, and I'm going to just fly through these. You've got The Wide, Wide World. This is the first American book to sell 1 million copies. This is the book that Joe is reading on Little Women. Also, just for your information, when this book was first printed, it was in 2 volumes. The Lamplighter used to print both volumes, and then someone sent us something that only happens once in a lifetime. Someone had an original copy of the author's additional chapter that was refused by the publishers back in the 1800s, 1850. That chapter stayed in circulation but was never allowed to be in print with this story. Someone sent it to me, I read it, and I was like, that tells the rest of the story. It's like, this is pure gold. And the reason we believe that the original publisher didn't print that additional chapter was because the book was already in print, they already had the plates, and that was a big deal to change the plates. It's a lot of cost. So they never included the extra chapter. This book, Wide, Wide World, complete 2-volume set into 1 volume, including the additional chapter. You'll understand why it was the first American book to sell 1 million copies, The Wide, Wide World. And then Falsely Accused. This became the book of the year in 2015. Escape from the Eagle's Nest. This is in Afghanistan, a young boy who's going to reach the Afghans. This became the book of the year for 2017, or 2016, Escape from the Eagle's Nest. The King's Gold, I think this was book of the year for 2014. This is a young girl who's got to make a decision between following the evil advice of someone very important to her or following Christ. What a story, and it rips her apart. The White Gypsy, we have this also in audio drama, and also we have this in a new cover coming out. The White Gypsy, what a story. You've probably read this one or heard the audio drama. Every parent needs to read this. This is a great book on parenting as well, because a parent learns that she has been codependent on her son after her husband dies, and her son's been her oldest son was apparently killed in a train accident, and so she's holding on to her youngest son. She lives in fear, and she passes that fear on to her children. And finally, coming to the end, she realizes that perfect love is what casts out fear. She's got to give her son some room to grow and to make mistakes. And come to find out, her oldest son didn't actually die in that train wreck. And what a story of redemption in the very end of this. Haunted Room, this also comes in an audio drama, deals with fear, pride, and selfishness. Those 3 things, 2 brothers and a sister, and they all have to come face to face with their fears, their selfishness, and their pride, so that they can find out, be released finally from the bondage that they're in. And they're apparently in this haunted house, not really, but it's really someone is trying to drive them out, and there's this secret room up on top. And what's taking place in that secret room is just amazing when they find out. And it could cost them their lives if they don't do things the right way. So, Haunted Room. The Lamplighter in 1850 outsold The Scarlet Letter by 60,000 copies the first month. 60,000 copies the first month. Nathaniel Hawthorne was livid by this book because he didn't want the woman that wrote it writing all of these virtues and values. And he actually said these women ought not to be writing these moral stories because they're corrupting the culture that we live in. And Scarlet Letter ends up becoming a classic for public schools and colleges. The Lamplighter's never heard of again until we find it, put it back in print. And this is just a classic story. You got to read this. If you want to know what Lamplighter Ministries is all about, the essence is in that book. The Hidden Hand, God bringing 7 people to the end of themselves so they learn to trust in the hidden hand of God. This is just a story of stories. You can't put this book down. This is adventure, mystery, drama, you name it, it's in this story. This was written in 1859 by Eden Southworth. Hidden Hand, trust me, you will not be able to put it down. And these top shelf here, the classics are 12 and up. Great for read aloud for families. Ishmael, probably the best teenage book I've ever come across in my life. This is part 1. Part 2, you want your boys to become like Ishmael, and you want your girls to become like Bee, the girl in the story. This is not about Ishmael in the Bible. This is about a young lawyer who becomes a young lawyer. A congressman bought a copy for every congressman in Congress. All of the senators, House of Representatives, got a copy of Ishmael and Self-Raised. That's how powerful of an effect it had on his life. Apparently, the rest of them didn't read it. And then Lost Pearl, very similar to The Hidden Hand, only deals with marriage. Oh, what a story. Keep you on the edge of your seat. Sir Knight of the Splendid Way, this is one of the best allegories I've ever read in my life. It's a story of a knight who wants to see the king, and the only way you can see the king is if you keep your armor on. The only way you can keep your armor on is if you have a pure heart. This is, okay, I'm going to say something, you're not going to believe me, but that's fine. This is better than Pilgrim's Progress. And I have 1,000 other testimonies of people who've read this and Pilgrim's Progress who said exactly the same thing. So far, I've only had one person in 15 years tell me that Pilgrim's Progress was better than the Sir Knight of the Splendid Way. In fact, the woman who gave me this was a missionary coming home from visiting a missionary in South Africa because she supports her. And she had just broken her engagement, and she was devastated and depressed. And the missionary woman gave her an original copy of this book. And when she gave it to me, she said, "Mark, this was like getting a kiss from God himself." So the Sir Knight of the Splendid Way. Jewel, one of our newest prints. I haven't read it yet. Pride and His Prisoners. What a story. Anything written by Allo, a lady of England, dealing obviously with pride. Out of the Pit, and we're going to fly now. Out of the Pit, what a story of redemption and forgiveness. A boy whose sister dies as a result of this selfish old man, his employer, and he's got to actually try to save this man from a house fire because the men are going against him, and saving his enemy. What a story that is. That is a Boys of Grit type of story. I don't know if I could have done that one. Locked Cupboard, story of 4 sisters. And this one sister who's full of self-assuredness, does she learn the hard way? She loses all of the savings of her family. And they're going to lose their house. They're going to lose everything. And what a story of redeeming faith this is. The Locked Cupboard, kind of a mystery story. Alabaster Box, story of a girl and her love for her dad and her love for bringing redemption to a town who has lost everything because of her dad's misappropriateness of the finances. He was the president of the bank, and he lost the town's money, or did he? The question is, at the end, you'll have to figure it out for yourself. And she's going to go back to the town and rebuild the historic house that her parents lived in, and she's going to bring economy back to the village, and no one knows who she is and why she's doing it. And she's trying to right a wrong, but she's trying to right a wrong in the wrong way. And soon, the scriptural principles start to engage in this story, and you are on the edge of your seat. This is a story of redemption, of healing past hurts, and people coming to face with the realization that they could no longer use past hurts for an excuse for living a life that is unforgiving. What a story Alabaster Box is. Lost Clue, what a story this is. A young man who, this is a story of great valor and virtue, a young man who's going to give up his life to take care of this family because of something his father did. And there's a lost clue, and he's got to find out where this lost clue is, because when he finds it, it's going to give him it's going to unfold the mystery of who his father really was, because he learns that his father wasn't really his father. What a story, The Lost Clue. And that's also by Mrs. O.F. Walton. She's the one that did that children's illustrated book. She's an amazing author. And then 2 amazing books we just printed last year, Treasure of the Secret Cove and The Secret Bridge. These are 2 of the best books Lamplighter has ever printed. They're both books of the year. This one deals with salvation. This one deals with marriage. And you can't put them down. They're as good as Ishmael and any book that we've ever printed. In fact, we just did an audio drama. This was so good, we did produce the audio drama right away. But these got to go together, I would say. Parents who are looking for books that you can't put down. Now, this is for 12 and up. Whoa, and this new one just came in, On the Edge of the Moor. I have not read it yet, but everyone's telling me that it's as good and better than Treasure of the Secret Cove and Secret Bridge. So take that for what it's worth. That Printer of Udell's, this is the book that Ronald Reagan, history says that when he was 11 years old, his mother made him go into a room, read the story, not come out until he finished it. And when he came out, he said, Mom, I came to know Jesus as my Savior, and I'm going to become the President of the United States someday. And when he was in office, it is said that this influenced his economic policy and his foreign policy, and there's even in the preface where President Ronald Reagan writes a paragraph here. So this is a story, that Printer of Udell's we did in a very keepsake cover, that Printer of Udell's. Now that finishes all of our classic. Now remember, I'm giving you these all in order, and we'll show you a video of all of this in order. You need to place these on the table, starting from the right side, moving your way up all the way to the in front. So you'll come around the front. That will be the Renaissance collection, boys and girls. And then in the back side, you'll have all of these classic. These will be set up, so they'll be higher. They're the larger books. And then as you come down from there, now we're going into our history collection. So right after that printer, we've got Prisoners of the Sea. What a story. This is now during very dramatic mystery. This is during the French Revolution. I'll give you a little hint. This is the real story about the man in the iron mask. So what a story this is. Did you know that? I gave it away. I know I shouldn't have given it away. Don't tell anybody about that, but that's what it is. This is the real story. And then Pillar of Fire. If you get this book, we don't put it in all of the conferences. This is the real story behind the scenes of what happened with Moses. For example, the word Moses in Hebrew is written M-S-S because there are no vowels, okay? And if you look at the sun god, Moses was stricken from the books of Egypt, and he was removed. His Ra, the Ra, the sun god, it was stricken from his name. And Ra and MSS is the word for, guess what? Ramses. And so, according to this book, Moses was the original Ramses. But because he broke the law of Egypt and killed that man, they took the sun god from his name, Ra, Moses, Ramses, and he became just Moses. Now, we don't know if that's actually historically true or relevant. So this one's the Pillar of Fire, and this is written by J.H. Ingraham, and famous theologian, rare book for us to even have this. This is the story of Moses, but this is the story of history, mystery, new beginnings. I have never read a book that is written so eloquently. This comes alive. The Nile, all that's going on during this time in the Exodus, prior to the Exodus, just comes alive. You will love the story of the pre-Exodus in the way that this is written, and it will show you what happens behind the scenes of Moses' life and what's going on during the time of Egypt. It kind of puts the Bible, makes what happens in the Bible come that much more fuller and more colorful. So Pillar of Fire, great story. The Spanish Brothers, based on a true story. This is during the time of the great persecution during the Spanish Inquisition. Two brothers, you cannot put this story down. This is a story of stories during that time period. And again, we're going through history right now. So we've got Titus, a comrade of the cross. The lady who wrote this, Mrs. Kingsley, Florence Kingsley, put a contest out that whoever write a story that would set a child's heart on fire for Christ would get a $1,000 reward. In 1894, she didn't, Davis C. Cook Publishing Company put out the award, and Mrs. Kingsley wrote this, and she got the $1,000 award. It's the story of the two thieves on the cross, the legend of the two thieves on the cross, and why the one thief repents at the last moment. What a story. I'd say this is one of the most powerful books I've ever read in my life. This also comes in audio drama. Titus, a comrade of the cross. Wow. And especially around Easter time, that's a story you want to read. Also, we have a book. I didn't show it to you right now. It's called Worth More Than Gold. That's an Easter story.